What's up, everybody? I'm Metal Nick,
I'm Jeff Grindstoffer.
and welcome to episode number 73 of Vinyl Bang. Jeff, introduce today's guest, please.
Today's guest is no stranger to Vinyl Bang. He's been on the show before. James has contributed ideas and topics for. We did at least one entire episode based on James's idea for the Tombstone based theme. And actually, James, I didn't even think about saying this, but whenever we hung out in Columbus a couple of weeks ago, that was the day that episode premiered. I didn't even think about it, but it was just like, I didn't realize it until I was on the way home. I was like, oh yeah, James's episode went up today, and we didn't even talk about it. But anyway, James, for those of you who are familiar with the band See You Next Tuesday, James is of course, percussionist for See You Next Tuesday, drummer extraordinaire, if you will. But yeah, let's hear it for James Watson, everybody. One of the official members of Vinyl Bang. Nice to have you on the show again, James.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here as a part 2 in-person guest. Thank you for inviting me.
Excuse me. Absolutely. There's always like whenever we have people on and the episode ends, there's always like, I wish they would have talked about this, but we always say, yeah, we'll have you on for another episode. We say that every time, and Jeff and I are starting to live up to that because Cha is just always been there, and it's same with you. I knew, like I said, I've known you for years via internet and Instagram, and then we finally met last year a couple times in Chicago and Detroit. But vinyl's the reason, records are the reason you and I became friends in the first place, and I know you got more than what you brought to the show last time, and Jeff and I were like, before Death Fest even started, I was like, we gotta have James back on because I know this man has more records, but this time let's pick his records. like we did for Cha. We picked Cha's albums. You can't come on her show unless you talk about this.
Yeah, and you can't talk about it if you can't add it to your Discogs if you don't have it in hand yet.
Cha's gonna laugh.
That's the thing, real quick, everybody. So while Nick and I were going through James's Discogs to figure out which albums we were going to have him talk about, the very first one, as soon as you open up James's Discogs, is 324, who I just saw last week at Maryland Death Fest. Saw them for the very first time, their first appearance in the United States, and I'm like, I want to hear you talk about this band. So I'm like, I threw it in the list, and James said, I just ordered that today. I don't actually have it yet. So now, boys and girls, this is now a topic. You cannot add anything to your Discogs until you have it in hand.
Mr. Alex Cha was very vocal about that. He called you a liar. He was like, he wanted me to send him a link to the show so he could phone in from work.
It's now called the Cha rule.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. There you go. There we go.
Is an official rule of Discogs: do not add anything to your Discogs until you have a physical copy in your hand. Ever.
I was gonna try and like find like this really, horrible scratched up record and kind of do what the bass player of Alice in Chains did for the Unplugged, where it's like friends don't let friends add music to their Discogs before in hand or something on it. I love you, Alex Cha. You're the best. Alex Cha. Alex Cha is a sweetheart.
Boo this guy. Boo.
Yeah, boo this man. Alex is awesome because he, out of the kindness of his heart, at the end of the tour that we did with them last year, he was like, hey, do you want anything from the merch table? And I was like, I would really love that Terrifier hoodie, but unfortunately I'm a big fella and you guys don't have my size. And he goes, well, we'll take care of that for you. And a couple of weeks later, he asked me for my address and I gave it to him. And I was like, what's this? And he goes, don't fucking worry about it. So I get this big package in the mail and I'm like, I hope it's not a nail bomb. Oh shit. But anyway, It was a hoodie that he had specially made for me in my size, which was so awesome. So thank you, Alex Cha. Thank you very
He's a
much.
great guy. Great guy.
Shout out to
Yes.
Cha. Yeah, living up to the same thing Blake did. Blake did the same thing for me and Jeff. We always got cool merch unannounced in cool ways like that, and that's what Cha does. Cha's a great guy. Love the
Yep.
guy. I think anybody who continues to go see Big Destroyer probably meets him, and he's like, this guy's great. So yeah, enough blowing smoke up
Yeah.
Cha's ass. He knows how great he is.
Moving on. Moving on.
Excuse me. We got 20
We're all
records
feeling
today.
it today.
Yeah, no. I'm just look. I just kept still getting over this cold I had at Death Fest, so it sucks. But we got 20 records to talk about, plus some bonus stuff between Jeff and I. So let's get to it. James, you
All right.
what we
Oh
can say
God,
maybe
I'm the
about?
only person on the screen right now.
Yep.
That's
All
scary.
you.
All right. So the fellas sent me 10 records apiece to talk about from my collection, which I thought was a really cool thing to do instead of me just babbling on about shit I picked. So we're going to start with the first one here. Can't remember who picked this one, but this one's actually really cool. This is the Summer Sampler EP of 2006 by the band Cinder Receiver.
That was me.
Yeah, Grindstoffer. Do you know Cinder Receiver at all?
I do. I learned of them. I believe it was through the a relapse contamination sampler. I want to say it was something along those lines. But yeah, Cinder Receiver and like East West Blast Test, and a couple other bands. But yeah, they were one of the bands that I got into way back in the day, and I just wanted to hear more about them. So
Awesome. Yeah, so Cinder Receiver, good friends of mine actually. Um, they were around, the MySpace like grind type era. I it's funny that that's a thing nowadays. It's like people's like, oh yeah, the MySpace grind days and stuff like that. But Maxwell, a good friend of mine, he now owns and operates a venue in Detroit called the Sanctuary, and has for gosh, I think like over 15 years or 15 years or so.
mhm.
It's an awesome venue to play. Tons and tons of bands play there. Um, and we just played there with Wormrot last or 2 weeks ago. And but anyway, this is a really cool record because it is a lathe cut, um, gosh, 5 inch,
So I looked at
five
your
inch
5 inch.
record.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, man, it took until I got a really nice record player for it to play. You would put the needle on, and I mean, it would throw it right off. It would be like, what the fuck is this? I
Right.
don't even want to play this. So, um, this was a thing they did back a long time ago, and I'm not sure why they did it, but it is limited to 20 copies, and I happen to have number 20 of 20. You can kind of see it in there.
Nice.
Uh, that other one looks like a 6, but it's a 0. Um, I think they made these by hand, maybe, or something like that. But shout out to Maxwell of Sender Receiver.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, they have some other 7 inches, and I think that they never released anything on a 12, but all 7 inches. Next up, we have. Sorry, guys. We have Raise the Bullshit Flag by Phoenix Bodies. This band was a band that I've known about for quite a while, and just like never had it on vinyl before. And someone recently, actually, I just like got it last year, um, mentioned it um, in a group I'm in on Facebook, and they were like, these are up for sale, which I thought was super cool. and it is a super cool variant. It's like a pink and black merge.
Hmm.
This side is mostly black, but it's pretty sick. Just an absolute punishing band. Um, Drew, our guitar player for See Next Tuesday, he's always been a huge fan of this record. He's always loved the production sound on it, and um, I got turned on to them back in the day, and I don't remember through who, but I thought this was cool when they sent it to me. They sent me this cool poster.
Right on.
So one of these days, it's going to end up on the old wall. But can't remember who picked this one. Do they want to speak it?
Oh, that was me.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was awesome. It just like I've said numerous times throughout the show, I like hearing about new bands, and I want to hear about possible something that I might be interested in, something that I might be
Oh,
worth might be interested in checking out. So
if you haven't checked these guys out, please do. You would absolutely love them, both of you, I think. Just absolutely punishing, really just great shit. Like I haven't listened to it since I actually when I got it, I put it on and then I got through side A and I had to leave and then I didn't get to finish side B. But it's one of those records that you'll just be immediately hooked with it, and it sounds great. And I'm really stoked that it finally is on vinyl. I don't know if they had any older pressings of it, but I think this is new. Like I think it's like a pretty new pressing, but that's me not doing my homework on that aspect.
But
And sorry,
that's all right. That's all right. We quit
deal
doing
with
our
it.
homework on stuff too. No big deal.
Let's see. I don't know if I'm gonna go in like specific order of how I have stuff laid out here, but we'll go ahead and talk about this one. This one was one that Nick picked. I do remember this because this Nick had picked uh, one that Jeff had also picked, so he picked this one as a secondary. But this is Into the Moat. The design, absolutely incredible band. Um, this band actually has some loose history. When I was in the band The Heartland back in the day, our guitar player almost had the opportunity to join this band as their guitarist, and I thought that was always something super cool that I I was like that lore is just cool. Like I can only imagine like what else they could have done with with him added. Um, but this was put out by Silent Pendulum Records. They did a couple variants. This one is just a clear, which I absolutely love because we all know that relapse clears are superior, but just a good, fun, clean, clear LP looks just super cool, I think.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Um, Nick, I'm sure that you know, are a fan of this band. I take it.
so I remember those went on sale, and I was mad late. I think I saw people were posting that they pre-orders were up, and I was like, "What?" And then there was a pressing of black vinyl, and they were only out of 100, which still doesn't matter. I wanted to own that album on vinyl. Like I had seen them the first time I'd seen them. I specifically going to this show to see from a second story window, but I also knew who the Acacia Strain was, and I knew who Into the Moat was because of the EP. Um, but I went and saw them. They were nice, but they were just weird kind of guys. They were very to themselves. The Acacia Strain were having a bad day. I happened to have some Cypress Hill with me, and then I headed off with those guys. And so we were friends for life after that. Just not Vince. Vince never took partook. I'm talking like DL, Kevin. I'm trying to remember the original bassist name, but Into the Moat played that show, and then I saw them again a couple of months, maybe like a year later, with Misery Index and Psyopus, and
Ooh.
same scenario. Those guys were just I guess the design was out and kind of established at this point. It was also out the last time I saw them, but great fucking band. I thought that the way that the EP ended, how it fades out, and then the design starts, it fades back in with that same breakdown, and they added a little technical. That record was great. I think like, and then they put out that third thing, and I didn't think it was very good. And I think it was a forced thing from what I understood, but like that band is
Was
just
that the
incredible.
was that the campaign? The last thing that they did? Okay, yeah,
that one.
yeah.
I think the story was like they broke up, and Metal Blade like, you still owe us one album, and so they gave him like, here it is. Kind of
Like
like
here's what we have.
I think that Elements album by Atheist was kind of, I think, the same thing, but I could be wrong. But yes, Into the Moat, incredibly underrated band. Those guys are so talented. I have both that and the EP. I have on vinyl, because Silent Pendulum is great, and kudos to that guy for putting
Yeah,
stuff out. I really want him to put Ideas of Reference by Psyopus out at some point, because that's just
yeah.
how, what's his name, John
Michael
Michael Michael
Cadnar.
Michael, yes. I would love to have him on the show at some point, because he's just a vinyl, like, I think he's an enthusiast too, and he's the pressings that he gets for some of the albums that he puts out are fucking incredible looking. So I wish I had that
Yes.
Into the Moat one. That's one that's just,
Oh, you
I
don't
can't.
have a copy of this at all?
I do. I have the black pressing, but I'm talking about the EP. Like, I want that one with like the cigarette butts or the newspaper in there. I think is in there.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Those ones I've seen in some groups that they go for some money, because I think those were only like limited to like 25 or something crazy like that.
They were the most limited.
Kind of like
Yeah.
Wax Vessel, they kind of have like a like some that are very, very limited and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But
No, I get
I
it.
I was I was so stoked when they announced that this was coming. Such a
Yeah.
technically proficient band. Like, I'm not saying that, I'm not comparing the two at all, but like when I hear a technically proficient band, like this band always comes to mind, and so does Necrophagist. Like,
Mhm.
I know they're not the same at all, but it's like, a band that's super good at their instruments, you know, Into the Mo is definitely up there
I would
with
say
that.
at the time that they were touring and they were like pushing that record really hard, Between the Bear to me was also kind of one of those bands that I thought of that were like, they were good at their instruments. They played like, they were metalheads, so I think they really like enjoyed the music they were writing and putting out. And I felt that with Into the Mo, but I also think every time I saw them, there was one or two members different. So
Yeah,
it's tough. It's
yeah, for
tough.
sure.
And I understand it. It wasn't. It's not an extravagant scene, and the money making scene that we wish it was. But
No, and I would have thought that like a band like Into the Moat would have kind of fit in on like one of those Summer Slaughter tours. I don't know if
mhm.
they ever did one, but such a
So,
such a great band, and not a lot of people talk about them.
mm,
Moving on. Um, I have not seen this band talked about on your show that I can completely remember until Cha talked about them, and I'm glad that he did. He talked about a 7-inch that he had of theirs, but um, Nick had picked Asuk Misery
yes.
Index, and this record is one of those records, to me, in like the grind world, that is just absolutely perfect. Um, there's like a holy trinity of like grindcore records to me that are perfect, and this one just is like a silent fourth, like in that top three. It's kind of tied with the third, but there's from Enslavement to Obliteration by Napalm Death. There's The Inalienable Dreamless by Discordance Axis, and then um, World Extermination by Insect Warfare. To me, like those three are like the most punishing and pinnacle grind records. And I know a lot of people would be like, well, what about this? What about this? But for me personally, like those three records do it. But this also is up there too. And This took me a long time to find um, random Discogs score. It's nothing too fancy, just a straight black vinyl. Um, don't know if these would ever get repressed, but it would be really cool if they did. Even if it wasn't like anything extravagant, like some of the vinyl that we're used to seeing, um, like with the crazy color schemes and things like that. But um, even to just like some people don't have this record, and I think a lot of grinders who love grind should have this record.
Hmm.
I mean, it's absolutely punishing from start to finish, and it's just one of those ones that I hold near and dear, and I've had it for quite a while. I think I've had this one for over 10 years. So, um,
Right on.
thanks for picking this one, Nick. I don't know if you have a copy of this, but if you
I
don't,
do
you should
not.
get one.
Mm, if I ever come
Um,
across one, they're like Infest records. They're very expensive and hard to come
oh,
across.
yeah, you're telling me, man. There, I used to have the other 12-inch of theirs, um, but someone made me a handsome offer for it, and it was like one of the last ones they needed. So I was like, okay, you know, I know it's going to another fan who is super into it, so why not? Um, Moving on. Sorry, I'm trying not to talk too much about each record, but trying to find like an interesting story if I have one about it. Um, I believe Jeff picked this one out, Mr. Grindstopper. Um, it's uh, it's a very neat one, and I have it listed on my Discogs wrong. It is not the color that it says it is, but I need to remedy that before Alex Cha crucifies me. But I am speaking about page 99, document number 8. Um, Absolutely incredible album. Um, Document number 5 was my introduction to this band. My bass player in a previous band, Tommy, he introduced me to this band. He had a friend who was super into collecting vinyl, like back in like 2008, I think, and he had been collecting for quite a while. But he had, I think, like every pressing and like every variant of Page 99 records. And he was like, "Have you ever heard of this band?" And I said, "No." And he put on Document 5, Comedy of Christ, and I was just blown away. Um, Chris's artwork is just absolutely stellar. I know that he tattoos now, and I would absolutely love to have a piece to add to my body collection. So, um, these are you know these are repressed pretty recently. I'm not sure who the label was that did it, but they have some of these that are. This is like a just like almost like construction paper type of sleeve, and just
Mhm.
folds open. But Robotic Empire, I think, did this one. Yeah, Robotic Empire's logo is right there.
Okay.
But yeah, I found this years later, just digging through a record store somewhere. I can't remember, the where and the when, but I was like, I have to have this. And I know you guys know of Chris's artwork from Pig Destroyer's Terrifier and, Darkest Hour and, all sorts of bands. He's just absolutely incredible. So pick
Page
this up.
99. They're a local band from Northern Virginia, but a couple years ago they reunited and repressed a lot of their albums. So I got my hands on a couple of them. But they yeah, if you're not familiar, like two bassists, like three guitarists, I believe two
Two
drummers, maybe
vocalists.
one. vocals, yeah. It was stages packed. It was at the Auto Bar, but like legendary band. I
Oh,
think they're trying to put together a show with Big Shore this later this year, but I don't know if it's happening or not.
oh, that would be great.
Hmm.
They actually played here in Columbus last year in the springtime when I was on tour.
Aw,
Um,
that's a
yeah.
bummer.
I was bummed. I was super bummed. I was like, fuck this tour. I'm gonna go home and see Page 99.
And I think two of them own a record store in Leesburg, Virginia, which I went to with JR and Cha last a couple weeks ago.
Seriously,
So yeah,
that's awesome. That would be really cool to see that.
they
I
had a
know the singer
couple.
for sorry, go ahead.
No, they had a couple copies of that, bootleg copies of the Alice in Chains self-titled there. It was like
Um,
$50.
dude, I have one of those. It's a white pressing, and it sounds great. Like it's a great placeholder until hopefully they actually do an official um pressing of it. But
I
I
think
got
that's the
This
one
mine
year
that
will
from
I
be
have.
Virginia.
I think I have the white pressing of the subtitle as well, or of tripod, as I call it. But
this year
Yeah.
will be 30 years, so it would be nice.
Yep.
But
Yep.
like, mm,
It's funny you mentioned that you got it in Virginia because that's actually where I bought mine. But I bought mine in Virginia Beach,
cool.
Shinfa.
Well,
No one cares. So yeah. Page 99. Check them out.
heck yeah.
Next, this is not. I'm not sure who picked this one, but I'm glad they did though, because I don't think that this band gets talked about ever because it was one of those things where they just said, "Hey, we're gonna go in the studio and record a record and drop it and never talk about it again." That band is No One Knows What the Dead Think.
yes,
Um,
yeah, this was my pick. I'm familiar with the band. Um, I know who it is and everything. I've heard of the band. I don't have the album, and like I said, nobody ever talks about it. And I want more people to know about this band. So I wanted you to talk about that album on the show because I wish I had a
I
copy. Yeah,
You
so
don't have a copy.
no, I don't. Can't
I
buy them all,
may
can you,
have an
Nick?
extra, so I'll take a look, and if I do,
Awesome. That
we'll,
would be
we'll
rad.
get you hooked
Oh
up.
yeah.
But don't hold me to it. I don't know if I do or not. This shit behind me is in not any sort of order right
Uh,
now.
uh,
I'm a terrible vinyl collector right now. But I plan to remedy that. At least they're not too many are sitting on the floor.
mhm.
Um, so this band consists of two-thirds of Discordance Axis, Rob Morton and John Chang, and uh, that was all I needed to know.
Right.
Rob is one of the most incredible riff writers in grind, whether he wants to consider himself a grind guitarist or not. An individual who just doesn't talk very much. I've seen him talk on the DVD Slave to the Grind. I think he was on there talking. Um, and they got a drummer from Japan who is absolutely incredible. And I can't remember his name, and I would butcher it if I tried uh, to pronounce it. Um, yeah, he follows me on Instagram and is such a kind individual. He actually commented on my dog's birthday post yesterday, which was awesome.
Hmm.
But I mean, this is basically what I feel like, a third or another Discordance Axis record could have been, but not at the same time because, I know that they wanted to step away from that because, Dave wasn't involved, but just an absolute crushing grind release that John Chang, he does not put out records that are bad. There's he just associates with great players, from Discordance Axis to Gridlink to this, he just knows what he's doing. Um, I know that I had more than this one copy because one of the other ones was more, I think they called it like recycled material. It was like a variant that was like recycled colors and stuff. It was more like a purple color. But this one is, the one I do know that I had kept, but I'll take a look
That's
and see if
that's
I
cool
have it.
looking.
Yeah, it's really cool. I kept this one, I think, mainly because of the theme of
The
the
artwork.
cover art was green
Yeah, yeah,
also.
yeah. It's very reminiscent of the artwork. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just an absolutely great record that no one like knows about, it seems. Like you don't ever see anyone talk about it.
No. Yeah.
Um,
It's definitely underappreciated. Definitely flew under a lot of radars, and it needs to be talked about. Absolutely. And
I'm
that's
not
awesome.
sure.
I've heard it on Bandcamp or Spotify or whatever it was, all digitally, but I
Mhm.
don't own a copy of it, and it needed to be on the show. So
Well, I'm glad that you picked it because it's a fantastic record. It was put out by Willowtip a few years ago.
mhm.
I'm not sure when, but check and see if Willowtip might have copies because they may still. If I can't find mine, we'll find you a copy, Jeff. Don't
Oh,
worry.
I'm on it, dude. Don't even worry about that. I'm already looking. I've got 3 possible copies I can already get right now. So just you know,
Yeah,
if it turns out, sure, dude, you've given me enough as it is. If I absolutely have to have a copy, which I would like to have one,
yeah.
but I've got possible options.
Well, great.
Should be good. Should be good.
And to
So you picked that one.
answer the question, I do. The dead don't think anything.
Moving on. But
Oh, that
get
that
this guy out of here.
This title, I'm like, come
yeah.
on, are you kidding me?
You can see Nick down at the Auto Bar doing stand up later this week. Get your Vinyl Bang stickers from him.
Look at that. Promoting the show on the
Uh
show. Awesome.
oh yeah. I was gonna wear my shirt, but I decided not to. You know, people know what it people know what it is. People
Understandable.
out in the
Yeah.
world don't know what it is, and they need to know. That's where I wear it.
Awesome.
So moving on. Actually, it's funny that this was brought up because two of the bands, it's actually a trifecta, I will say, because the main band that this band came from, um, it, two of the bands were picked out of the three, so I added the third because Jeff and Nick both picked the same record, so I picked one to talk about. But Nick picked this one to talk about, and this is Francis the Mute by the Mars Volta. Um, this album, for me personally, was one of the ones that I liked, but Deloused really, um, how do I put this? It just killed everything else. They did such. It's like it's one of those 10 for 10 records, and as you know, I love this record. It's got great songs on it, and it has one of the greatest drummers of all time, John Theodore, playing on it. Um, it was one that I thought that the songs, you know, they didn't stand up quite as well to the Loused, and some people will disagree with me, and that's totally fine. Um, but for me personally, this is, one of the ones that, you know, I think there's some that came out after this that I like more. Like some of the ones like Bedlam and Goliath that
Wow,
had
that's my favorite.
Thomas. Is it your
Thomas.
favorite?
Yeah, absolutely. I picked this one because I wanted to see what the pressing looked like. Actually, I like this
Oh,
album a lot. It's not my favorite one by them, but I was like, I should have just said that. Yeah, I actually own the OG pressing of Bedlam. I love Delouse. Delouse is a really great record, but this one I've never seen this pressing before, and just I think we knocked down all three of the well, we'll get there when we get there, but yeah, just like these guys, they're great musicians, and they branched out to like other bands, and
they definitely did. And the I mean, it's nothing to, really write home about. It's just a plain standard black copy, but it's an OG pressing. Um,
okay, yeah, isn't one of
this
them
was
like etched or
actually,
something?
yeah, one of them is
That's why I
it's the
picked it.
third disc. Let me get to it. This was actually given to me by a good friend of mine who is in a band that we will talk about here in a little while, because Nick actually picked their um, album for me to speak on. But I had given my friend, his name is Nick, also a record as a gift, and it was the soundtrack to the 1989 Ninja Turtles soundtrack. And shit, I picked the wrong one. And he was like, dude, like, what the hell? And I was like, hey, you love Ninja Turtles so fucking much that you needed to have the soundtrack on vinyl because he has, some records and stuff, but he's not like a major collector. And we played a show together recently, and he said, hey, I got a gift for you in the car, and remind me to give it to you after the show. And so I was like, okay. And he gave this to me, and I was just like, dude, that is just so kind of you. And I was like, I actually do not have this record. And here is the etching.
Yeah,
Hopefully, you guys can see that pretty well.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Looks so rad. And I love that they put a center label uh, on this side because most uh, albums that have a etching don't do that.
Right.
But this is rad.
Hell yeah.
But Mars Volta, fantastic band. Not so much anymore, in my own personal opinion. Um, I'm just not into it anymore. I think that their better days are behind them, and that's okay. Um, but this is a great album. Um, I'm kind of jealous of your OG Bedlam copy, Nick. That is really rad. I
It
do not
comes with
have.
like a picture disc, 7 inch that's like cut out to look like an Ouija board piece.
Okay, that's sweet. I think mine. I'm so sorry. I think mine has a like that is on a 12-inch, but the Ouija board piece is like inside the 12-inch, so it like takes up the whole record, like you can see it, if that
Mm,
makes sense.
yeah, I
Anywho,
think so.
Mars Volta. Woo! Um, let's see. Next up, here's another one that Metal Nick picked. Um, it's kind of a cool story behind this one too. Um, this was this is a band that I heard back in the day. I had joined this band, the Heartland, and it was like my first like band that I ever tried out for, and actually like went out, played shows, did stuff, recorded a record, recorded my first record with them. But this was a band that I discovered through those guys. Basically, John, our guitar player, was like, "Have you ever heard of this band or this band?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Do you have an iPod?" And I said, "Yes." And I gave it to him, and he basically maxed it out with tons and tons of cool records. Sorry if that was super loud. But this is Despised Icon, The Healing Process. absolutely incredible record. Um, the drumming on this record is just stupid good.
Hmm.
That dude is he's like Animal on the drums, and he's such a short, like in height person, and he plays like he's a giant. And the way that he sets up his cymbals, I think, is super cool. There's a lot of them that are angled forward, like tilted away from him, which is not something that I've ever seen anyone do, ever. Um, but yeah, Nick picked the healing process. Thanks, Nick.
Is this one numbered?
This one is numbered. It is from our good friends in China from the Northeast Steel Industry. This one's number 65. I don't know if you can see that too well.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
And
Uh,
it's a sick looking one, if I'm gonna say so myself. This one has a nice like gold and black and silver splatter to it.
Yeah,
fuck
that's rad.
yeah.
So I have a
Yeah.
funny story about this one. This copy actually. The I ordered this along with another record at the same time by a band called Weege Dude. Um, and they came in the mail, and I know that you guys have bought from Nessie because I know that you have some in your collections, and you know how their packages come, like bomb proof, you
Mm.
know, foam inserts, like basically like nothing's gonna touch this thing. Well, I got my copies of both records and opened them up, and everybody inspects their stuff. And both of them were unfortunately warped. Um, this one was warped the worst out of all of them, but I reached out to them and was like, "Hey, I got these in. Um, they're warped. Is there anything that we can do?" And they got back to me pretty quickly, and I was surprised to hear that they had other people reach out that had the same problems with those two particular albums. So he said, I'll get this taken care of, and let you know. And so like 2 months went by and I never heard back. And then I got a package from them, same box type and everything, with just the sleeves and the records. They didn't give me any new jackets, which was totally fine. Um, but they replaced the copies and
Awesome.
they were absolutely perfect. Um, and my friend Sean, his son makes clocks. So I gave him uh, the records to turn those into clocks, the warped records. So I'll have those, have one of those soon.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that
I
was rad.
Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for that band. I discovered them because I bought a split that they did with a band called Bodies in the Gears of the Apparatus, which was a really cool grind band from the early 2000s. And I remember just being like, wow, this band on the split that they're doing is just fucking so cool, and never heard of these guys. And then a few months later, the Healing Process had come out on Century Media, and I saw them at Death Fest. That was Death Fest 3 in 2005, and Steve Mario was not there at the time, so Kevin, who eventually became vocalist of Iron Dissonance, was doing vocals for them. But
Hmm.
they played, and then I think they had to roll to Philadelphia because they were on tour with Deicide. But I remember like having like a stack this high of like promo stickers of the Healing Process. Like, anyways, fast forward, I started filming bands, and I filmed them, and they were the Alex was the first person to post my stuff on their Facebook or their MySpace, and like that kind of got my live video, my YouTube channel, like rolling back in the day, and I always thanked him for that, and give a huge shout out to him every time we talk about Despised Icon on the show, because they're not only great musicians but great people. Like the Canadian bands are fucking awesome. I learned that real quickly but Alex in general. Shout out to Alex and all of them. Alex Grind, Steve, Eric. They're all just great fucking people. They're all such nice people. I have great stories to tell about all of them, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But I love Despised Icon, and that is a phenomenal fucking record.
Yes.
Immaculate. What a fucking song that is.
Yes.
Hits me right here. That's every time he starts that song off.
Thank you, Despised Icon, for making an incredible record, and also a nice little hat tip to you for putting a sick GoldenEye sample in your band's record. I don't think I've ever heard a sample from the movie GoldenEye in any other band ever. So that was sick. I knew exactly where it was from the moment I heard it. I was like, this is awesome. That was sick. Well, thanks for picking that one, Nick. Metal Nick. What do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about the album that both of you picked, which was totally fine with me, but I thought it was hilarious that you both picked this record.
That's on me.
But
Yeah, especially since we intentionally sent lists to each other the night before, so we didn't do that, Nick. He still said it. I was just like, whatever, that's fine.
I was like, I saw the band name and I was like, they picked the same one. I was like, okay. I was like, well, we'll roll with it. I was actually going to start talking this episode with this record, but I decided not to. But it is Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean, Obsession Destruction. This is a band that I have just become, informed about within the last year or two. Just devastatingly heavy. I mean, their artwork is always something to just stare at. Just incredible. They're actually on tour with Dragged into Sunlight right now. So if you guys, did they play Death Fest?
Yeah.
They played the pre-fest.
Oh, they did.
Pre-fest,
Okay,
that's right.
cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys get to see that?
No. We were not invited into the Nevermore Hall.
No. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I would like to see them.
Meaning we didn't have tickets.
Oh.
We didn't have tickets.
Well, that sucks.
Well, just real quick, let me say a shout out Paul McGuire, if he ever actually ends up watching this show, because Paul is tour managing for that tour, and I saw him, and we just embraced each other and hugged, and it was so great. And he got me into Nevermore Hall that night, even though I didn't. I went and watched like 2 songs from Dragged into Sunlight, but I was at the soundstage the rest of the time. So anyway, sorry, Paul. But yeah,
no problem. But it's so funny that you guys chose this one for me to talk about, because it's actually the variant color of this is, I think I have most. I don't have like the wooden box of theirs or anything, but I think most everything that they've put out. The Vestige was actually the most recent one that I've put in my collection. It is in hand, so I did add it to my Discogs. So there's that factor to it. But that one was kind of hard to find, but this one is just absolutely gorgeous record.
oh wow, that is a good one.
It's very orange. My light is turning it to more of a puke color, but
that's what I was gonna say. Is
yeah, it's more orange than anything. Like it's hard to see.
Well, it's like all. I mean, it's obviously orange, but like all the filler spaces, like there's so many colors in that. Like
all
like,
these
like,
edge,
like the trash explosion, like the trash explosion pressing. It was like somebody just took a filled orange in over 3/4. That's an awesome record.
Yeah, it's really sweet. Like these edge pieces, like this right here, like this is see through. Like I can see the computer through it. It's super awesome. I remember when the mock-ups for this were on like Bandcamp. I was like, oh, that's going to turn out really cool. And sometimes you can be a little disappointed by mock-ups and things like that, which is why a lot of places now say like this is not the final product. Mock-ups can change, blah blah blah.
Right.
But this is a 2 LP of that, and I was not disappointed at all in how this turned out. And sound quality, visuals, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So thought it was cool that you guys both picked this one because out of all of the color variants of the different albums I have, this is actually my favorite. So check
That's what
out
we do
Chain
here
to
at
the
Vinyl
Bottom
Bang.
of the Ocean. Yes, you do.
That's what we do.
That's just, I mean, that's what
Sound
really
quality.
what happened was one of us was listening to Cypress Hill, not paying attention. So that's the honest to God truth. But yeah, I think I talked about. I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, me too.
It's me.
It's you, McMuffin. Um, I want to talk about this record next because, pardon me, Nick cracked me up with a story that he told about this. And I have my own story and love-hate relationship with this record. This is Saint or Street Anger by Metallica. And Nick's story, I'll let him tell that, which I think is funny. Nick, you can go ahead and tell that if you'd like before I
I
get
just had
into
a,
this.
I just had a friend who was a diehard Metallica fan and loved everything they did, and just when they announced that record, I was just like, oh, it's Street Anger, and he's like, you keep calling it that, and it's not. It's Saint Anger. I was like, no, ST is abbreviated for street. Don't you realize that? Like, and he's just like, are you fucking stupid? He was getting so angry at me, and I was just like, dude, calm down. Like, I'm reading this like it's street anger, but I'm like, I know what it's fucking called. Like Lars did like a press interview on 98 Rock in Baltimore and everything, talking about it forever. And like, I just, at the time that came out, like, I just whatever about Metallica. Like, it didn't really like. I was over them, but I would
Yeah,
probably if they came around, I'm not going to be like, no, I'm not going to go see Metallica. They're fucking Metallica. But that album was a huge turnoff, especially with the movie that came along with it, that showed you all the struggles that those grown men had to go through with that. But it's
yeah.
it's it was silly to me at times, but um, yeah, just street anger. It pissed this guy off because he couldn't handle that.
Street Anger. Um, yeah. Side story, Jeff was in town and saw Metallica, and that's when we met up and had lunch, which I thought was cool. So I'm glad that someone picked a Metallica record to talk about. Um,
Yeah.
this record, this record is I'm a fan of everything Metallica has done except for one thing, which was Lulu, their collaboration with Lou Reed. I thought that was not good. Um, I hated it. That's my personal opinion, and if you don't like it, I'm sorry. Uh, this is a really cool pressing of this record. It is on Some Kind of Orange.
Hey,
Is
there you go. That's what
is
I was
the
hoping for. That it would be a color vinyl.
yes. I'm trying to make sure I have a color vinyl copy of all their stuff.
Hell
Because
yeah.
surprisingly, Walmart,
Mm-hmm.
you know, did a
Yep.
great job with them.
Agreed. Agreed.
Now, is
I think
that
they
pressing
sound great.
actually called Some Kind of Orange, or did you just throw that in?
Oh, it's
Because
called that. And sometimes if I can get a hype sticker peeled off, I'll stick it to the.
Some Kind of Orange.
There it is, right there.
Wow.
Street Anger, some kind of orange, some kind of
And
orange pop.
those Metallica marketing guys, that's clever. Some Kind of Orange. Boy.
And,
Shout out
and
to Doug Brown.
Doug Brown is one of the
Okay.
nicest dudes ever. Love him.
Yes. Yes. Doug is awesome.
He
If I
brought a
ever
test
have
press.
any, what's that?
He brought a test pressing of that on our show.
Yes. Yeah, Doug is awesome. He's a guy that if I have any questions about grindcore or Metallica, I'll ask him. Like he's the encyclopedia of both things. Um, but yeah, so I have a love-hate relationship with this. A quick side story. When I was this album came out in the summertime. Metallica albums used to do that. Like when I was little, or you know, 8, Load had come out, and I don't care what anyone says. That album's fantastic, and that was a turning point where I was discovering music and discovering like my true love for like metal and stuff when I was 8. So I hold that album near and dear to me, along with the Black Album. I think both of those albums get shit on all the time, and they shouldn't. But anyway, the summer that came out, um, I had not done very well in school and had to, and I can't remember what else I did, something stupid. But my punishment uh, was we had this like rock pile at our house. We lived out in the country, and like we're talking rocks that were like this big. And my job was to move this pile that was as tall as I am, and I'm a 6'3" person. And I had to move them all by hand into the bed of a truck and then move them to a different location and unload them by hand. So that summer, this album came out, and I got the CD of it and was blaring it out of my stereo while doing that. So um, I was pissed off that I had to do that all summer long. And so whenever I hear this record, I think of that and it pisses me off. But this is still a great record, in my opinion, of Metallica's. People are trying to achieve that snare tone now in the slam bands, that
Core grind.
talk your shit, but you still love that snare tone. I don't care what you say.
Yep.
But yeah, so thanks, Nick, for picking that and bringing up that terrible memory for me. Appreciate it.
Sure thing. That's what I'm here for.
Good job, everybody. All right. Repressed memories on Vinyl Bang. Repress bang.
Yeah, repress bang. Okay, I'll talk about this because why not? This was another pick by our friend Metal Nick. Um, this was an album that I truly fell in love with when it came out, and got to see the band live and perform this record in its entirety the first go round of it. This is Mastodon, Crack the Sky. This is the box set version of this record that just came out at the tail end of last year. Um, Super killer packaging. Absolutely just, I love shit like this. Uh, Relapse had done Remission in a box set styling just like this. It's right here behind me, all 3 versions of that. Um, Absolutely just I love a good box set. You know, it's just something that's cool. It displays, a little bit more of, you know, alternative art to the actual album itself. It opens like a book, which I think is cool, like this.
Mhm.
And I still have the cool bubble wrap and accoutrement that came with it. Um, it came with a DVD of the album and the making of, which I thought was super cool. It has the animations that total 51 minutes, which is cool, in the making of. Um, it also came with this magnet sheet, which I thought was super cool. So if you can see, my hand is shaking. But you can
Yeah.
pop these out if you want to and have individual magnets, of the guy on the side and the little symbol there. Or you could stick it on your fridge all in one piece, if you want to do that. I'm choosing not to. Um,
I have a death box set that came with all their album art on magnets like that I kept together. I didn't break them up like that.
was that the human one, the human box?
Yeah, it might have been. I
I
think
think
it's the
you
one I
got that
sold
from
you.
me,
That's the one I
or I
sold
got it from
you.
you. Yep.
Yeah, I told you I'm keeping this. I told you I was keeping the magnets.
I remember that now. Okay. And it's got a full giant booklet, super rad. It's got a gigantic poster that I will not unfold, but you can see it's like a 2x2 poster. And then the album is actually on two LPs with different artwork and stuff on them than the actual art. Um, One, it's actually uh, on gold vinyl, which is cool.
Hmm.
Kind of goes with the theme of everything, and there's like a little ripple effect in it, which I think is cool. Um, so actually, this is the actual album, and the second LP is actually just the score.
Instrumental.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how they released it originally. That's awesome.
hmm I think this is at the time, with the subject matter of them and what it's about. I thought that was a really
Hmm.
great way to honor his sister and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
Mastodon is one of those bands that has always just progressed, and I'm never disappointed by anything that they do. And I know that the latest news for them was a shock to a lot of people because I sure as hell was. But I think whoever they find and deem the permanent replacement for Brent will be someone who deserves to be there. And I'm excited to, hear what they do in the future. You gotta love and give it up to the classics on the relapse stuff. Remission is like top 10 favorite records of all time for me. So, they're a band that always will progress, always will do great things, I think. But so I'm really stoked that you picked that one to talk about, for me to talk about. So thank you, Nick, Metal Nick.
yes, sir.
Let's find one that Jeff Grindstoffer uh, wanted to talk about.
If we have to.
You
I
know,
well,
I wanted to say earlier, whenever you referred to me as Mr. Grindstoffer, I actually like that because a lot of people say I'm not Mr. Grind. My dad is. I am fucking Mr. Grindstoffer. Okay, let's just go ahead and get this out in the open now. If you're still watching this episode, I am
yeah,
Mr. Grindstoffer. There is no one above me. I am my father.
I I am my father. I
I
am
am
the
my own
dad.
father. So anyway, yeah, just get that out of the way.
I'm just, that's my good family raising, Mr. Grindstoffer. Thank you, Mr. Metal Nick.
and,
How do?
and I like that.